In 1858, the American Numismatic Society was founded in New York City. Howard Adelson's ANS history notes a mid-19th century groundswell of popular support for public education and libraries, and the ANS thus took its place in a wider effort to democratize knowledge and to increase social mobility. The Society began publishing the American Journal of Numismatics in 1866. This periodical focused on numismatic activities within the United States, including society news from other cities, scholarly papers, coverage of American numismatic sales, and member comments. This publication, later issued by the Boston Numismatic Society, served as the public face of the ANS until the construction of their first building in 1907. Largely funded through the generosity of Archer M. Huntington, the new footprint of the ANS enabled the growth of its collection, library, and exhibit space, all of which created a platform for numismatic scholarship and enjoyment. The ANS remained at this location until 2004. Following a short move to William Street in the Wall Street area, the ANS moved to its current location several years later. The 2008 move to Hudson Square drew the attention of the New York Times, which reported the detailed orchestration of 5 moving vans, 425 crates, 12,000 trays, and 800,000 objects, all of which were quietly transported through Lower Manhattan on a June Saturday. The ever-present Holland Tunnel backup, easily visible from the current ANS offices, was the last obstacle in relocating the ANS cabinet to its new location in Lower Manhattan. Throughout its history, the ANS has supported the appreciation and scholarship of both classic and modern numismatics with an array of publications and programming. Regardless of the means of engagement, the ANS has established a reputation for academic excellence across the entire spectrum of numismatics. In this video, we will focus on the United States coins in the ANS cabinet and present an overview of this important segment of the ANS collection. The most significant event in the early formation of the U.S. collection was likely the construction of the ANS building in 1907. Although we can't say for sure, the presence of the building must have been influential in attracting an important donation from J.P. Morgan the following year. Morgan, who made his fortune in railroads and steel, was an avid collector of books, coins, and other objects. The Morgan Library in New York City remains open to visitors today, and many of Morgan's coins are equally accessible at the American Numismatic Society. The highlight of the Morgan donation is an extensive run of 19th century proof gold coinage, which was acquired by Morgan from the estate of J. Colvin Randall. The collection was appraised at the time by the dealer Lyman Lowe for $10,000, an extraordinary sum in an era when many proof gold coins sold for close to face value. The Randall Morgan collection covers all denominations and represents a near-complete set of proof gold coinage from 1858 through 1901. The value of proof gold coinage at the time is summarized in this offering from the 1906 Wetmore sale. Common date sets were priced in the $45 to $80 range, or about twice the $38.50 face value. Rare sets from the mid-1870s were more highly valued, with the 1875 set selling for $430 in this particular sale. Highlights among the $1 series are the aforementioned 1875 example, produced to the extent of 20 pieces, although John Dannreuther believes additional examples may have been struck and not reported in mint records. Dannreuther further notes that circulation pieces in early die states are highly proof-like and have sometimes been sold as proofs. The definitive diagnostic is the spiked chin that appears on the business strike obverse. A key coin in the Quarter Eagle Proof Gold series is the 1863 issue, of which 30 examples were struck. Gold coinage production decreased during the Civil War, and no circulation strike quarter eagles were produced in this year, which increases collector interest in the proof pieces. The rarity of this date was recognized early on, and the few proofs have survived in a proportion greater than the surrounding years of quarter eagle production. Among the $3 proofs is this rare 1873 issue. The 1873 proof $3 is a complex emission with no less than 4 varieties outlined in the Dannreuther proof gold reference. This piece is an original strike with an open 3 in the date. The close 3, used earlier in the year, was confused with an 8, and the mint quickly moved to replace the obverse die with a new open 3 date punch. This impacted nearly every denomination in the U.S. series, and this is a rich year for varieties, with over 50 listings in the Red Book for 1873 dated coins. The king of the $5 proof series is without doubt the 1875 issue, with market appearances that typically attract six-figure prices. 20 examples were coined, of which Dan Ruther traces 13 pieces. Proofs and circulation strikes are easily distinguished by the date placement, which is punched lower on the non-proof pieces. The 1875 proof eagle similarly reigns over the $10 proof gold series. Dan Ruther traces only 8 survivors from an original production of 20 pieces. Proofs and mint date examples exhibit differing date placement, with the date punched further to the left on the proof coins. Among double eagles, the 1858 proof is known to the extent of just 3 pieces, with 2 coins permanently impounded in the Smithsonian, and a single example present in the ANS collection. With no pieces available to collectors, it's difficult to value such a coin, but it is safe to say that a market appearance of the 1858 proof double eagle would reach the 7-figure level. Apart from the several hundred examples of proof gold coinage, J.P. Morgan also donated significant U.S. pieces to the ANS in his 1908 behest. Included was this 1842 small date proof quarter, one of 7 known examples. This issue has long been recognized as a rarity in the series, and is one of the few pre-1858 proof coins with its own listing in the Guidebook of United States Coins. J.P. Morgan further donated an 1852 proof quarter, one of 2 known. This proof die for this date exhibits repunching in the 3 right digits of the date, which is most apparent in the upper flag of the 5. The only other known example of this issue was included in the Pittman and Kaufman collections. While donations from individuals represent the most typical acquisitions, museums sometimes exchange objects between themselves. In 1980, the American Numismatic Society received several important pieces from the Chase Manhattan Bank Money Museum. The Chase Museum was for many years a popular tourist attraction in New York City, residing on the ground floor of 30 Rockefeller Center. The collection was diverse and included early forms of money, such as this array of Asian pieces, illustrated in a 1927 interview with Farron Zerbe. The Zerbe collection formed the basis of the Chase exhibits, and he served as curator of the museum from 1928 to 1937. When the Chase Museum closed in 1977, most of the collection went to the Smithsonian. However, the ANS received several important pieces, including this $1804. The $1804 is perhaps the most famous of all American coins, with 15 examples known. Originally struck for diplomatic purposes in 1834 or 1835, the true origin of this rare issue was unknown until the 1962 publication of The Fantastic $1804 by Eric Newman and Ken Brissett. This ANS Chase coin is a Class III example, unofficially restruck by the U.S. Mint sometime around 1860. The ANS also acquired the 1792 Eagle on Globe pattern from the Chase Museum. 6 examples of this pattern are known, 2 in copper and 4 in white metal. 2 of the white metal pieces were unknown to numismatists until they were discovered in the New York Historical Society collection sometime around 2002. In 2021, the New York Historical Society deaccessioned the finer of the 2 pieces via heritage auctions, which sold the coin for $1.26 million to a prominent collector of 1792 pattern coinage. The 1792 Eagle on Globe piece paired nicely with this 1792 half diem already in the ANS collection. While numismatic mythology holds that the bullion for these pieces originated with Martha Washington's silver service, modern scholarship points instead to Thomas Jefferson, who noted in his account book on July 11, 1792, that he deposited $75 in silver at the mint for coining. 2 days later, the same account book indicates his receipt of 1,500 half diems, which matches the dollar amount deposited. In addition to the Chase Manhattan pieces, the ANS holds a number of U.S. rarities acquired from other sources. The 1907 ultra-high relief double eagle, perhaps the most aesthetically pleasing of all U.S. coins, came to the ANS in 1980 from A.J. Fecht. Multiple strikes, with a kneeling between each blow from the press, were required to bring up the exquisite detail of these three-dimensional works of art. Although denominated at the $20 level, these pieces are arguably metals that never entered circulation. Examples at the time of striking were distributed only to mint insiders and instantly served as highly prized works of the U.S. Mint. The famed brasher doubloon came to the ANS in 1969 via Mrs. R. Henry Norweb, a longtime ANS council member. One of 7 known examples, the brasher doubloon represents the first privately struck gold coinage in the United States. This piece was prominently featured by the ANS in the exhibit Drachmas, Doubloons, and Dollars, The History of Money, presented at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York from 2002 to 2012. J. Sanford Saltus donated this Confederate half-dollar, one of 4 known, to the Society in 1918. This piece is believed to have originated with B.F. Taylor, the chief coiner of the New Orleans Mint. Remarkably, the 3 privately held examples, from the Newman, Partrick, and Kendall collections, have all appeared on the market in recent years. These historically significant pieces all drew high 6-figure prices. While not major rarities, the ANS collection further includes a number of highly desirable pieces in the U.S. series. Silver dollars were first struck in 1794, with silver furnished by the Mint director David Rittenhouse. This example, number 18 in the Martin Logie census of $1794, was donated to the ANS by the Norweb family in 1965. The coin exhibits pleasing color, with adjustment marks evident at the reverse rim. As is typical of $1794, the obverse stars are softly impressed. This uncirculated 1873 cc dime comes with a rich pedigree, beginning with the well-known collector of 1873 dated coinage, Harry X. Boozle. Cam Awash, a founder of the Liberty-seated Collectors Club, also owned the coin, as did Alan Lovejoy, who formed an important collection of U.S. dimes. Lovejoy donated the piece to the ANS in 1991. This 1796 No Stars Quarter Eagle was struck to the extent of less than 1,000 pieces, and examples in all grades are eagerly sought by collectors. This represented the first year of United States Quarter Eagle production. J.P. Morgan donated this piece to the ANS in 1908. This 1907 rounded rim gold eagle is listed in the Judd reference as a pattern, but opinions differ on the pattern status of the coin. In any case, few are known today, with the mintage given as 50 pieces in the Guidebook of United States Coins. No discussion of the U.S. coins at ANS would be complete without mentioning the George Clapp large cents that came to the Society in 1946. Clapp was a principal in the firm that eventually became the Aluminum Company of America, known today as Alcoa. He began collecting as a boy and was especially attached to U.S. large cents. Minted from 1793 to 1857, these heavy coppers bear a psychic magnetism that has attracted collectors from the earliest days of American numismatics. The so-called Levick plate, the first photographic die study ever published in numismatics, captured the various die varieties of the 1793 large cents and presented a challenge to collectors. Can you collect them all? Many numismatists tried, and the best comparison might be the modern-day pursuit of assembling Morgan dollar sets. George Clapp was one of those who accepted the challenge, and by the 1940s he had amassed thousands of large cents, many of which represented condition census examples. In 1946, Clapp presented over 1,500 large cents to the ANS, which included his frontline set of the old coppers. A second set went to the Carnegie Library in Pittsburgh. Many years later, the ANS made the unfortunate discovery that approximately 100 of the Clapp cents had been switched out for lower-grade examples by William Sheldon, the author of the foundational work on large cents, Penny Whimsy. Sheldon doctored pedigrees to conceal the true origin of his large cents, and only the meticulous sleuthing of Del Bland, John Kleberg, and other investigators completely unsorted the situation. Recovery efforts began in the 1990s, and over time, many of the pieces were reclaimed for the ANS cabinet. The ANS continues to seek out the switched-out Clapp cents as they appear in the marketplace. Gems from the Clapp collection include this Sheldon 48 variety, the so-called starred reverse. The addition of stars within the reverse dentals has never been satisfactorily explained and was famously described by Sheldon as the whim of an idle hour at the mint. This example is ranked third in the noise condition census. The overall quality of the Clapp donation is perhaps best exemplified by this 1794 Sheldon 72 large cent, which is ranked first in the noise condition census. The piece retains traces of original red color, which is most notable within the protected areas of the coin. The cataloger Henry Chapman described this piece in the 1916 Bement sale as probably the finest known, and this opinion stands the test of time. The ANS large cents also include the celebrated strawberry leaf variety, one of 4 known, although this example did not come from the Clapp collection. As with the starred reverse cent, the addition of the strawberry sprig beneath the portrait has never been completely explained. Nevertheless, this is a guidebook-listed variety and always demands attention when examples appear in the market. Although not well publicized, the ANS holds the definitive collection of Gobrecht dollars, which were donated by Dr. Julius Korine in 2009. Produced as silver dollar patterns in the 1800s, these pieces have been avidly pursued since the time of issue. The Korine collection included approximately 100 examples, and while the ANS has deaccessioned die duplicates, the remaining set forms a singular record of these enigmatic coins. An old saw holds that Christian Gobrecht punched his name below the base of this 1836 Gobrecht dollar and was later forced to rework his name onto the base itself. John Dannreuther discovered a die sequence that demonstrated just the opposite. The name on base coins came first, and the name below base coins were most likely struck some years after Gobrecht's death in 1844. The Gobrecht dollars remain popular among collectors, as exemplified by this nicely toned 1836 example. Dr. Eric Krauss has extensively studied the ANS Gobrecht dollars and presented preliminary findings in a November 2020 ANS Money Talks presentation. The precise emission sequence of this complex series is not completely settled, and there are no doubt additional discoveries waiting to be made. The ANS holds a significant collection of U.S. patterns, with over 200 examples in the collection. This Judd 1906 $20 pattern is a mate to the privately held example in gold, which many experts consider the most valuable coin in the entire U.S. series. The high-relief St. Gaudens design is boldly rendered and represents a high point of artistry within American coinage. This curious 1 cent piece, dated 11 years after the production of the last large cents, was no doubt struck within the mint as a delicacy for collectors. Today, it's included in the U.S. pattern series. This example was donated by George Clapp to the ANS in 1946, along with his stellar collection of regular issue large cents. This attractively toned piece, a $1 pattern in silver, features James Longacre's Indian Princess design. Similar patterns were produced in 1871 for all of the silver denominations, but the 1871 Indian Princess dollar pattern comes with the highest number of varieties, numbering nearly 40 in the Judd reference. The so-called schoolgirl pattern, this George Morgan design is among the most popular in the U.S. pattern series. Although Morgan dollar production began in 1878, the mint continued to experiment with alternate designs. Examples of this piece are known in silver, copper, and lead. The $4 gold piece was envisioned as the American equivalent of European gold pieces that enjoyed international circulation. However, the $4 pattern did not precisely match the value of the corresponding European coins, and the idea failed to gain traction. These pieces enjoy heavy collector demand today and typically trade in the 6-figure range. The ANS has played a leading role in the study of American colonial numismatics through the publication of related monographs, the Colonial Newsletter, and the Journal of Early American Numismatics. Within the area of Massachusetts silver coinage, The ANS published Sidney Noe's foundational works on the subject between 1943 and 1952, in addition to an important companion monograph by Eric P. Newman in 1959. Noe's work was facilitated by a 1946 donation of over 50 examples of Massachusetts silver coinage from the collector William B. Osgood Field. A highlight of the Field donation is this New England sixpence, one of 7 known, 3 of which are locked in institutional collections. Massachusetts silver represents the first coinage of the English Americas, and the New England pieces were the first struck, beginning in 1652. The production is crude and clearly reflects the available technology at the time. While a rocker press was used to coin later pieces, the New England series was hammered by hand, using letter punches. In addition to the sixpence, the coiner John Hull also produced 3-pence and 12-pence denominations. A single 3-pence coin is known today, while perhaps 50 examples of the 12-pence, or 1 shilling, pieces have survived. The ANS collection of Massachusetts silver also includes this willow tree shilling, which represents the Noe 2A die pair. This variety was discovered after the publication of Noe's monograph on the subject and is one of only 2 known examples. The coin was purchased out of the 1952 ANA sale, misattributed as a Noe 2B, and was later acquired by the ANS from the lucky purchaser, Oliver E. Futter. The pine tree shilling is one of the most iconic designs in American coinage. The dies bear basic designs that suggest a folk art origin, produced by coiners working under challenging conditions. Examples today fall into the sweet spot for collectors. While not inexpensive, there are a wide range of available pieces, and its status as one of the earliest coins produced in the American colonies carries a full measure of historicity. This example from the ANS collection represents the Noe 21 variety, of which 4 examples are known. In recent years, the ANS has supported scholarship within American numismatics through the Coinage of the Americas Conference, which most recently focused on the engraver Victor David Brenner in an event held in November of 2021. In August 2022, the ANS announced the endowment of the Resolute Americana Chair of American Numismatics, made possible through the generosity of Robert Rodriguez. Robert Rodriguez has a background in financial management and served as CEO at First Pacific Advisors. Money Magazine presented Rodriguez as the best fund manager of our time in a 2008 profile. His current interests include numismatics, real estate, and motor racing. We asked Rob for his thoughts on the study of American numismatics at the ANS.
The ANS has really been focused more on the antiquities, and they brought on a new person by the name of Dr. Jesse Clapp, who brings energy and intensity to the area. And so we've been talking for the last couple of years. We got to know one another. Some time ago, Jesse approached me about the possibility of endowing a chair. I spoke with Gilles Bronsberg, the executive director, and we discussed elements about that. And I thought that by establishing the chair, this would elevate the importance of American numismatics at the ANS, where it should have a major focus.
Rodriguez further commented on the resolute name for the American chair at the ANS. He outlined 3 reasons for this choice.
That goes back a very long way. Anybody who's known me throughout my entire life, one word that describes me is resolute. I'm resolute about what I do and the intensity that I bring to that which I am focused upon. Secondly, I needed to get an acquisition company name when I was going to take our company back from the British, call it a second revolution. And so I chose the name Resolute Acquisition LLC to take our company back from the British. The third one was one of my shareholders, Dick Walker, former naval aviator, lieutenant commander. And he sent to me, he says, I saw your resolute name for the acquisition. You realize you chose a very good name. I said, what? He says, because it also reflects HMS Resolute and what went on with the rescue of the Resolute, the returning of HMS Resolute as USS Resolute to England in 1856. And Queen Victoria greeted them, and it was a phenomenon throughout all of England. The ship re-entered the fleet as HMS, and in 1880, Queen Victoria, I should say, had the heart and soul of the ship, the keel and all hewn out, and that became the Resolute desk that resides in the Oval Office. So I thought there were so many elements of it that reflected the history of what we're doing, my personality and all, that it would be a good name for the collection to put the focus on history and not on an individual.
According to Wikipedia, the HMS Resolute was a mid-19th century bark-rigged ship of the British Royal Navy, specially outfitted for Arctic exploration. Resolute became trapped in the ice and was abandoned in 1854. Recovered by an American whaler, she was returned to Queen Victoria in 1856. Timbers from the ship were later used to construct the Resolute desk, which was presented to the President of the United States and is currently located in the White House Oval Office. With the establishment of the Resolute Americana Chair, the ANS will continue to promote research in American numismatics and to utilize their important collection as a basis for scholarly publications. For numismatists who wish to view parts of the cabinet, the Resolute Americana curator Jesse Kraft is a phone call away and stands ready to host visitors at the ANS offices in New York. We hope you've enjoyed this tour through the highlights of the United States coin collection at the ANS.